Jake Morrison walked through the dark streets of Shadowport with his hands deep in his coat pockets. The air smelled like fuel and sweat. Bright neon signs flashed in alien languages he could not read. This place was not on any official map. It existed in the space between worlds where the law could not reach. He had been a soldier once. Now he worked for whoever paid the most credits. The job was simple this time. Find some old alien artifacts and bring them back. His contact, Leo Grant, had sent him here with promises of easy money. The market stretched out before him like a maze. Vendors sold everything from stolen weapons to exotic foods. Jake kept his head down and moved carefully. This was not a place for honest people. Leo appeared from behind a stack of metal crates. He was thin and nervous, always looking over his shoulder. "Jake, you made it. Good, good. Follow me." I found something better than artifacts. They walked deeper into the market. The crowds grew thicker and the air grew worse. Aliens and things he could not identify. Money changed hands quickly here. Questions were not welcome. "What kind of better?" Jake asked. He did not like surprises in places like this. Leo smiled, but his eyes looked worried. "You will see. Big money, Jake. Really big money. But we need to be careful. Very careful." They turned down a narrow path between two large buildings. The noise of the market faded behind them. Jake's hand moved closer to his weapon. Something felt wrong. "Leo, what are we really doing here?" Leo stopped walking. He turned around and Jake could see fear in his face. "There are things happening here, Jake. Bad things. Things that make my stomach sick. But the money. What kind of things?" Before Leo could answer, they heard voices ahead. Jake pulled Leo behind a broken wall, and they both listened. The voices were speaking in basic human language. "The blue one is worth more than all the others together," said a deep voice. "Her kind has special abilities. The buyer on Titan is willing to pay 50,000 credits." Jake felt his blood turn cold. They were talking about people, living people. "About the small green one?" asked another voice. 15,000? Maybe 20 if we clean him up first. Jake looked at Leo. Leo's face was white with fear. "I did not know it was this bad," Leo whispered. "I thought they were just selling stolen goods." Jake grabbed Leo by the shirt. "You brought me to a slave market? I did not know. I swear I did not know." The voices moved away. Jake let go of Leo and tried to think. He should leave. This was not his problem. He had his own troubles to worry about, but something made him stay. "Show me," he said quietly. Leo shook his head. "Jake, no. These people are dangerous. They will kill us both. Show me." They followed the path until it opened into a large underground space. Jake had never seen anything like it. Rows of energy cages filled the room. Inside each cage was a different kind of alien being. Some looked almost human. Others were completely strange. Men in expensive clothes walked between the cages like they were shopping for furniture. They pointed at the prisoners and talked about prices. Jake felt sick. "The auction starts in 1 hour," announced a loud voice. "All buyers, please register at the front desk." Jake saw the man speaking. He was tall and well-dressed with cold eyes. This had to be Vincent Cole, the man who ran this place. Jake had heard stories about him. None of them were good. "I need to get closer," Jake told Leo. "Are you crazy?" "We'll recognize you as trouble." Jake pulled out a fake identification card. "Not if I am just another buyer." He walked to the registration desk like he belonged there. The woman behind the desk did not look up. "Name and account number," she said in a bored voice. Jake gave her the fake information. She handed him a number and pointed toward the cages. "Viewing starts now. Auction in 45 minutes." Jake walked slowly through the rows of cages. Each one held a person who had been stolen from their home. Some looked sick. Others looked angry. Most just looked scared. Then he saw her. She sat in the corner of her cage with her knees pulled up to her chest. Her skin was blue like a clear summer sky. Silver markings covered her arms and face in beautiful patterns. Snow and fell past her shoulders. When she looked up at him, Her eyes glowed with a soft light. Jake stopped walking. He had never seen anything so beautiful or so sad. She was clearly from the Lyrian species. Jake knew about them from his military days. They were peaceful people who lived far from human space. They had special mental abilities but never used them for war. They studied science and art instead of fighting. What was she doing here? Jake looked at the information card on her cage. It said she was 26 years old in human terms. Name was listed as Subject 47, but someone had written Zara in small letters at the bottom. She looked at him and tilted her head. For just a moment, Jake felt something touch his mind. It was gentle and curious, like a question without words. Then it was gone. Other buyers gathered around her cage. He talked about her like she was not there. Look at those markings. It's very rare. Her kind can read minds, you know. Think of the possibilities. I heard they live for 300 years. Good investment. Jake wanted to hit them all. Instead, he moved away and found Leo hiding behind a support beam. We have to help her, Jake said. Leo grabbed his arm. Jake, no. Look around you. There are guards everywhere. These people have guns and ships and connections. We cannot fight them. Cannot leave her here. She is not human. Why do you care? Looked back at the cage. Zara was watching him. Even from this distance, he could see the hope in her glowing eyes. She somehow knew he was different from the others. Because it is wrong, Jake said simply. The auction began. Jake sat in the back and watched as alien after alien was sold to the highest bidder. Each sale made him more angry. These were people, with families and dreams. Now they were just property. Finally, they brought Zara to the front. She walked with her head up, trying to look brave. But Jake could see her hands shaking. Our final item tonight, Vincent Cole announced. A female Lyrian, age 26. Fully trained in their mental arts, perfect health. Bidding starts at 30,000 credits. Hands went up around the room. The price climbed quickly. 40,000, 50,000, 60,000. Jake had 15,000 credits to his name. It was not nearly enough. At 80,000 credits, only 2 buyers remained. One was a fat man in a red suit who kept laughing. The other was a thin woman with dead eyes who never smiled. 85,000, called the woman. 90,000, laughed the fat man. Jake stood up. Every eye in the room turned to look at him. Hey, his heart was beating so fast he thought it might explode. 100,000 credits, he called out. The room went silent. Vincent Cole looked surprised. Do you have proof of funds, sir? Jake walked to the front of the room. His legs felt like water, but he kept moving. I will need to transfer the money from my ship. Give me 10 minutes. Cole nodded. 10 minutes. If the funds do not appear, the sale goes to the previous bidder. Jake looked at Zara one more time. Her glowing eyes were wide with surprise and something that might have been hope. He had no plan and no money. But he could not let them take her. Time was running out. Jake walked out of the auction room with his heart pounding. He had 10 minutes to come up with 100,000 credits, or Zara would be sold to someone else. The problem was simple. He did not have 100,000 credits. He did not even have 20,000 credits. Leo was waiting for him in the hallway. His face was pale with worry. Jake, what are you doing? You do not have that kind of money? I know. Jake looked around the corridor. Guards stood at every exit. More guards watched the auction room. We need a distraction. A distraction. Jake? These people will kill us. Jake pulled Leo into a dark corner. Listen to me. In 5 minutes, I need you to start a fire in the storage area. Make it big enough to pull the guards away from the auction room. And then what? Then I get her out of there. Leo shook his head. This is crazy. Even if you get her out of the auction room, how do you get off this station? Vincent Cole owns everything here. The docks, the security, even the air recycling systems. Jake thought about this. Leo was right. Shadowport was Cole's kingdom. But Jake had spent years learning how to get out of impossible situations. There has to be another way off this rock. There is, said a quiet voice behind them. They turned around. A woman stepped out of the shadows. She was about 40 years old with short gray hair and careful eyes. She wore simple clothes that helped her blend into crowds. "Who are you?" Jake asked. His hand moved toward his weapon. "My name is Nina Walsh. I heard what you did in there, bidding on the Lyrian girl."
What?
She looked at Jake with interest.
What?
"Most humans who come here are looking to buy, not rescue. You were watching the auction?"
What?
Nina nodded. "I watch all of them. I keep track of who gets sold and where they go. Sometimes I can help them later." Jake studied her face. She looked tired but determined. "What kind of help? The kind that gets people like her to safety?" Nina glanced toward the auction room, "But we need to move fast. Cole will figure out you do not have the money soon enough." Leo grabbed Jake's arm. "We cannot trust her. She could be working for Cole." Nina laughed quietly. "If I worked for Cole, you would already be dead. I've been running people out of here for 3 years. It's aliens mostly, but some humans too. Anyone who needs to disappear? Why should we believe you?" Jake asked. Nina reached into her jacket and pulled out a small device. She pressed a button, and Jake heard his own voice coming from it. 100,000 credits. She turned it off and put it away. "Because I recorded your bid. Cole is going to want to know who you are and why you tried to buy her. Yeah, maybe 15 minutes before his people start looking for you." Now, Jake made his decision. "What do you need me to do?" "First, we get the girl. Then we get you both off this station." Nina started walking down the corridor. "Follow me, and try to look like you belong here." They went back toward the auction room. Through the doorway, Jake could see Vincent Cole talking to his guards. The man looked angry. Jake's time was running out. "The storage area is 2 levels down," Nina whispered. "There are fuel cells there. If something happened to them, it would make a very big fire." Leo looked sick. "You want me to blow up fuel cells? Just damage them enough to leak? The fire suppression systems will do the rest. But it will pull every guard on this level down there to help." Jake looked at Leo. "Can you do it?" Leo took a deep breath. "I guess we find out." He disappeared down a service corridor. Jake and Nina waited in the shadows. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. "Come on, Leo," Jake whispered. Suddenly, alarms started ringing throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Over the loudspeakers, a voice announced, "Fire emergency on level 7. All security personnel report to level 7 immediately." Jake watched as guards ran past them toward the emergency. In seconds, the auction room was almost empty. "Now," Nina said. They walked quickly into the auction room. Only 2 guards remained, and they were more interested in the alarms than in watching the room. Jake saw Zara still standing on the auction platform. Her cage was still active. Nina pulled out a small tool and connected it to the cage's control panel. "This will take 30 seconds to break the lock." Jake kept watch while Nina worked. The guards were talking into their radios, trying to get information about the fire. One of them looked toward the platform. "Hey!" the guard called out. "What are you doing over there?" Jake stepped between the guard and Nina, just getting a closer look at the merchandise. Impressive specimen. The guard walked toward them. His hand was on his weapon. "The auction is over. You need to leave." "Course." Jake smiled and stepped closer to the guard, just admiring the craftsmanship. When the guard was close enough, Jake hit him hard in the stomach. The man doubled over and Jake hit him again behind the head. The guard fell to the floor unconscious. The second guard saw what happened and reached for his weapon. But Zara was faster. Even through the cage, she reached out with her mind and touched the guard's thoughts. The man's eyes went wide, and he fell down, unconscious but unharmed. "Got it," Nina said. The cage door opened. Zara stepped out carefully. She was weak from months of captivity and drugs, but her eyes were clear. She looked at Jake with wonder. "You came back," she said in accented but clear human language. "We need to go," Jake said. He put his arm around her to help her walk. She felt light and fragile, like she might break. Nina led them out of the auction room through a back exit. The corridors were mostly empty now, with everyone focused on the fire emergency. But Jake knew this would not last long. They made it to a maintenance area before the first search teams appeared. Nina opened a panel in the wall and pulled out a bag of supplies. "Food, water, and medical supplies," she explained. plus some clothes that will help you blend in. Jake helped Zara sit down. She was breathing hard and her skin looked pale. What did they give her? He asked Nina. Suppressors. Drugs that block telepathic abilities. They keep the psychic species weak and confused. Nina knelt down beside Zara and checked her pulse. She needs time to heal, but she should be okay. Zara looked at Jake with those glowing eyes. Why did you help me? I am not your kind. Jake did not know how to answer that. Because you needed help. Most of your people in that room saw me as a thing to be bought. I am not most people. Nina stood up. We can discuss philosophy later. Right now we need to get you both to my ship. She led them through a maze of maintenance tunnels. The passages were narrow and dark, lit only by emergency lights. Jake had to help Zara when she stumbled. The drugs in her system made her weak and dizzy. Behind them, they could hear voices and footsteps. Cole's people were searching for them. How much further? Jake asked. Almost there, Nina replied. My ship is docked in the old mining section. No one goes there anymore. They climbed down a ladder into an even darker tunnel. This one smelled like rust and old machines. Water dripped from pipes overhead. Zara was getting weaker with each step. I cannot walk much more, she whispered to Jake. Without thinking, Jake picked her up and carried her. She was lighter than he expected, and she felt warm against his chest. She looked up at him with surprise. Thank you, she said softly. They reached a heavy door marked with warning signs. Nina opened it with a key card, and they stepped into the old mining section. It was a huge space, filled with broken equipment and empty ore containers. Nina's ship sat in the middle of it all. It was small and old, but it looked like it could fly. Home sweet home, Nina said. Shh. She opened the ship's door and they climbed inside. The ship was cramped but clean. Nina helped Jake get Zara to a small medical area where she could rest. The drugs will wear off in a few days, Nina explained. But she needs to stay quiet until then. Too much activity could make her sick. Jake sat down beside Zara. She was already falling asleep, but she reached out and touched his hand. Oh, I do not even know your name, she whispered. Jake. Jake Morrison. Zara of the 3rd Science Circle. She squeezed his hand gently. Thank you, Jake Morrison. Nina was already starting the ship's engines. We need to leave now. Cole will have this place surrounded soon. As they lifted off from Shadowport, Jake looked out the window. The station grew smaller below them. Somewhere down there, Leo was hopefully finding his own way to safety. Jake had saved one person tonight. But he knew there were many more still trapped in places like this. Zara was sleeping now, her breathing slow and steady. Jake watched her and wondered what he had gotten himself into. He was no hero. He was just a man trying to do the right thing, but sometimes that was enough. Nina's ship moved through space away from Shadowport. Jake sat in the small pilot area watching the stars. Behind him, Zara was sleeping in the medical bay. The drugs were slowly leaving her system, but she was still very weak. Where are we going? Jake asked Nina. Centauri Free Zone. It is 3 days away if we stay on the main routes. Nina checked her instruments. But we cannot use the main routes. Too many patrol ships, Jake understood. The Centauri Free Zone was neutral territory where refugees could find safety. But getting there would not be easy. How long the other way? Maybe a week? Through the asteroid fields and dead systems, places where patrol ships do not go? Nina looked worried. But we have another problem. What problem? Look at this. Nina pointed to her communication screen. Message was displayed there. It showed pictures of Jake and Zara with large numbers underneath. Bounty hunters, Jake said. How much? 50,000 credits for you. 100,000 for her, dead or alive. Jake felt his stomach drop. Vincent Cole was serious about getting them back. With that much money offered, every bounty hunter in the sector would be looking for them. We need to change ships, Jake said. Already planned for that. I know someone who can help us. But first we need to get to the Kepler system. They flew in silence for several hours. Jake kept checking the sensors for other ships. So far, they were alone in space. But he knew that would not last long. A soft sound from the medical bay made him turn around. Zara was awake and trying to sit up. Jake went to help her. How do you feel? He asked. Better. The fog in my head is clearing. She looked at him with those glowing eyes. Where are we? It's on our way to safety, I hope. Zara tried to stand, but her legs were too weak. Jake caught her before she fell. Easy, you need more time to heal. I have been weak for too long. She looked frustrated. On my world, I was a scientist. I studied the stars and how they were born. Now, I can barely walk. Jake helped her sit down on the medical bed. Tell me about your world. Zara's eyes became distant. It is beautiful. 3 moons and purple oceans. My people live in crystal cities that sing in the wind. She paused, or we did. I do not know what happened after the attack. What attack? Human ships came to our research station. He said they were traitors, but they were raiders. They took everyone they could catch and killed the rest. Tears began to fall from her glowing eyes. I was working late in the laboratory. I tried to hide, but they found me. Jake felt anger growing inside him. I am sorry. Not all humans are like that. I know. You proved that. But why did you help me? Your people were willing to pay a lot of money for me. Jake thought about her question. Because you are a person, not a thing to be bought. Because it was wrong what they were doing. Because... Stopped. Not sure. How to finish because when I looked at you, I saw someone who needed help. That was enough. Zara studied his face. May I touch your mind? Just for a moment. Jake was nervous about this. He had heard that Lyrian telepaths could read all your thoughts and memories. What will you see? Only what you allow me to see. I want to understand your feelings. Jake nodded. Zara reached out gently and touched his forehead. He felt her presence in his mind, soft and warm. She was not searching through his memories. She was just feeling his emotions in that moment. After a few seconds, she pulled her hand away. You were afraid, she said. Not of me, but for me. Worry that you cannot keep me safe. Can you blame me? Half the galaxy is looking for us, but you will try anyway. Yes. Zara smiled for the first time since he had met her. You are a good man, Jake Morrison. Before Jake could respond, Nina called from the pilot area. We have company. 3 ships, coming up fast. Jake went to look at the sensors. 3 dots were moving toward them at high speed. Bounty hunters? Probably. They are not answering. My signals, Nina's hands moved over the controls. Hold on. This is going to be rough. The ship shook as energy beams shot past them. Nina turned hard to the left, then dove toward a nearby asteroid field. The 3 ships followed them. Can we outrun them? Jake asked. Not in open space, but maybe in the asteroids. Nina flew between 2 large rocks. Get to the gun controls. You might need to fight. Jake had never used this ship's weapons before, but he had used similar systems in the military. He strapped himself into the gunner's seat and powered up the weapons. The 3 ships were getting closer. Jake could see they were small, fast fighters, perfect for hunting bounties. Here they come, Nina said. The first ship fired at them. Jake fired back, but missed. The energy beam hit an asteroid next to them, turning it into flying rocks. Nina flew deeper into the asteroid field. The space around them was full of floating rocks, some as big as buildings. It was dangerous to fly here, but it was their only chance. The second ship tried to get above them. Jake turned the gun and fired. This time he hit the ship's wing. It spun out of control and crashed into an asteroid. Good shot, Nina said. 2 more to go. The remaining ships were more careful now. They stayed back and took long shots at Nina's ship. Jake tried to hit them, but they were too far away. We need to get out of here, Nina said. The ship is taking damage. One of the enemy ships got lucky. Its energy beam hit their engine. The ship shook and red lights started flashing. Engine damage, Nina reported. You're losing power. Jake saw their chance. Fly toward that big asteroid. The one with the metal in it. Why? Trust me. Nina flew toward the large asteroid. The 2 enemy ships followed them. When they were close enough, Jake fired all the ship's weapons at the asteroid. The The metal in the rock conducted the energy and the whole asteroid exploded like a bomb. The blast caught both enemy ships and destroyed them. "Nice thinking, Nina," said, but her face was worried. "We need to land and fix the engine. I know a place." They flew for another hour before finding a small moon with an atmosphere. Nina landed the ship in a valley hidden from space. When they stepped outside, Jake was surprised to find the air was breathable. "This moon is not on any charts," Nina explained. "A friend of mine uses it as a hideout." They spent 2 days fixing the engine. During this time, Jake and Zara talked more. She told him about Lyrian culture and how her people used their mental abilities to understand the universe. He told her about his life as a soldier and later as a mercenary. "Why did you become a mercenary?" she asked one evening as they watched the moon's twin sun set. "After the war, I did not know what else to do. I was good at fighting, but not good at much else." "What war?" "The Outer Colony Rebellion. I was 22 when it started. Thought I was fighting for freedom." Jake stared at the sunset. "Turned out I was just fighting for different bosses." "Ada." Zara moved closer to him. "You sound sad when you talk about it. I did things I am not proud of. Hurt people who did not deserve it." Jake looked at her. "But helping you feels different. It feels right." "It is right. You saved my life." That night, Zara became sick. The drugs leaving her system made her feel terrible. She had a fever and could not keep food down. Jake stayed with her, bringing her water and keeping her cool with wet cloths. "I am sorry," she whispered. "I am causing you so much trouble." "You are not trouble. You are worth it." During her fever, Zara talked in her own language. Sometimes she cried for her lost home and family. Jake could not understand her words, but he could feel her pain. He held her hand and promised he would keep her safe. On the 3rd day, her fever broke. She woke up feeling much better. Her eyes were brighter, and she could stand without help. "The drugs are gone," she said. "I can feel my abilities returning." She demonstrated by moving a small tool across the room without touching it. Then she touched Jake's mind again, but this time deeper. "I can feel your thoughts more clearly now," she said. "You were thinking about me." Jake felt embarrassed. "Sorry. I did not mean to ... double quotes, do not apologize. Your thoughts are kind." She smiled. "And I have been thinking about you too." Nina finished repairing the ship that afternoon. "We need to keep moving," she said. "I got a message from my contact. He has a ship waiting for us in the Kepler system." As they prepared to leave the hidden moon, Jake realized something had changed between him and Zara. She was no longer just someone he was rescuing. She was becoming someone he cared about deeply, and from the way she looked at him, he thought she might feel the same way. The new ship was bigger and faster than Nina's old one. Ben Torres, the smuggler who gave it to them, asked no questions and took no payment. He just looked at Zara with sad eyes and wished them luck. "I lost my own daughter to slavers 5 years ago," he told Jake quietly. "Never found her. Maybe helping you will bring some good into this ugly universe." Jake and Zara flew alone now. Nina had stayed behind to help more refugees escape from places like Shadowport. The journey to Haven Colony would take 4 days through safe space routes. On the first day, Zara explored the ship. She was fascinated by human technology. "Everything is so different from our ships," she told Jake. "Your people build with metal and hard edges, use living crystal that grows into the shapes we need." "Living crystal?" "Yes. We sing to it, and it responds. Our ships are like flying gardens." She touched the metal wall sadly. "I miss the music they made."
Out.
Jake was learning to understand her better. Her people experienced the world differently than humans. They felt emotions more deeply and saw connections between things that humans missed. On the 2nd day, they talked about their feelings for each other. It was not easy. They came from different worlds with different customs. "On my world, we share thoughts when we care for someone," Zara explained. "It is how we show love. But I know humans are private about their minds. I am learning to be less private," Jake said. "When you touch my thoughts, it feels Right, like you belong there. Zara smiled. And when you hold my hand, I feel safe. Your people show care through touch. Is that wrong? No. It is beautiful. Different, but beautiful. They were holding hands when the ship's alarm started ringing. Jake ran to the pilot controls and saw the problem. Military ships were coming toward them fast. Earth Defense Force. Jake read from the identification signals. 3 heavy cruisers. Zara looked worried. Will they help us? I do not know. Some military people are honest. Others work with the slavers. Jake tried to contact the lead ship. This is civilian transport Delta 7. Do you need assistance? Cold voice answered him. This is Commander Peter Hayes of the EDF Warrior. Cut your engines and prepare to be boarded. Jake recognized the name. Hayes was known for following orders without asking questions, not someone who would listen to their story. We are civilians traveling to Haven Colony, Jake said. We've done nothing wrong. You are wanted for questioning in connection with terrorist activities on Shadowport Station. Surrender now, or we will use force. Jake looked at Zara. Her face was pale with fear. They will take me back, she whispered. Don't know, they will not. Jake made his decision. Hold on. He pushed the engines to full power and dove toward a nearby nebula. The military ships followed, but they were too big and slow to keep up inside the nebula. The ship's sensors could not see very far. Jake flew carefully between gas clouds and energy storms. The military ships lost them in the colorful fog. Are safe for now, Jake told Zara. But we cannot stay here long. The nebula has too much radiation. They flew through the nebula for 6 hours before finding a way out. When they emerged, the military ships were gone. But Jake knew they would. Keep looking. Why did Commander Hayes call us terrorists? Zara asked. Because someone told him we were. Someone with power and influence. Jake checked their position. We need to reach Haven Colony fast, before they can send more ships. They flew hard for 2 more days. Jake barely slept, always watching. For pursuit, Zara helped by using her mental abilities to scan for other mines nearby. Together, they avoided 3 more patrol groups. Finally, they saw it. Haven Colony hung in space like a small moon, covered with lights and docking ports. Ships from many different worlds were coming and going. This was truly neutral territory. It was beautiful, Zara said. I can feel so many different kinds of minds, human, Lyrian, Centauri, species I do not recognize. Jake guided their ship to a docking port. Officials came aboard to check their papers. They were polite but careful. Haven Colony welcomed refugees, but they had to be sure people were who they claimed to be. Jake Morrison, the lead official, read from his tablet. Former Earth Defense. Force clean record until you went freelance. He looked at Zara. And you are Zara of the 3rd Science Circle, Lyrian refugee. You are both cleared to enter the colony. As they walked through the colony's corridors, Jake was amazed by what he saw. Humans worked alongside aliens of every kind. Children of different species played together in the parks. Everyone seemed to belong here. This is what the galaxy could be like, Zara said quietly. If people stopped fearing each other. They found the refugee center where Zara could register. For help, the woman behind the desk was human, but she spoke perfect Lyrian. Welcome, sister, she said to Zara in the musical Lyrian language. I am Karen White. I run this colony. We've been waiting for you. Waiting for me? Elder Thane sent a message. He said a member of the 3rd Science Circle was coming. Is very excited to see you. Karen led them through the colony to a section built specially for Lyrian refugees. The buildings here were made of something that looked like crystal. They hummed with soft music. Elder Thane was very old even. For a Lyrian, his hair was silver and his skin had turned almost white with age, but his eyes still glowed brightly. When he saw Zara, he began to cry. Child of my heart, he said in Lyrian, I thought you were dead. Zara ran to him, and they embraced. Watched as other Lyrians gathered around her. There were maybe 30 of them, all refugees from different attacks on their worlds. These are all that remain of our people in this part of the galaxy, Elder Thane explained to Jake. The raiders have destroyed most of our colonies. We came here to rebuild our lives. Jake felt out of place among the reunited Lyrians. They spoke in their own language and shared thoughts in ways he could never understand. He began to wonder if bringing Zara here was a mistake. Maybe she would be happier with her own people. That evening, Karen invited Jake to dinner. They ate in her office, while Zara spent time with the other Lyrians. "You did a brave thing," Karen told him, "rescuing her from Shadowport. Not many humans would risk so much for an alien." "She is not just an alien to me," Karen smiled. "Kane, see that? And she cares for you too. But there are things you need to know." "What things?" Karen pulled out a secure tablet and showed him files. "The trafficking operation is bigger than you thought. It goes all the way to the top levels of the Earth government." Jake read the information with growing horror. High-ranking officials were taking money from the slavers. Some were even buying aliens for their own use. Marcus Bell. Jake read one name. He is the colonial administrator for this entire sector. Has been covering up the raids and blocking investigations, making sure the slavers can operate freely. Karen's face was hard with anger. "We have been gathering evidence for months, but we need witnesses, people who saw the operation from the inside, like Zara, like both of you. Jake, you could testify about what you saw on Shadowport. Zara could describe her capture and imprisonment. Together, your testimony could bring down the whole network." Jake thought about this. "It would be dangerous. Bell has power and resources. He could make us disappear." "Yes, but if you do nothing, thousands more will suffer what Zara suffered." That night, Jake could not sleep. He walked through the colony's observation deck, looking out at the stars. Zara found him there. "You are troubled," she said. Jake told her about his conversation with Karen, about the evidence and the testimony they wanted. "It is dangerous," Zara said when he finished. "This Marcus Bell will try to kill us if we speak against him. I know, that is why I cannot ask you to do it. You have been through enough already." Zara was quiet for a long time. She looked out at the stars, the same stars that shone on her lost homeworld. "My people believe that those who have power must use it to protect those who do not," she said finally. I have the power of truth. I saw what they did. I lived through it, and I will testify, not because you ask me to, but because it is right." She took his hand. "But I will only do it if you stay with me. I am strong enough to face my fear, but not strong enough to face it alone." Jake squeezed her hand. "I will stay with you. It's always. Always is a long time, Jake Morrison. My people live for 300 years, and I guess I better take good care of myself." Zara laughed, the first truly happy sound he had heard from her. "Yes, you better." They stood together under the stars, holding hands and planning to fight for justice. Jake knew the road ahead would be hard and dangerous, but for the first time in his life, he was fighting for something that truly mattered. The next morning, they would start preparing their testimony, would gather evidence and find allies. They would take on powerful enemies who wanted them dead. But tonight, they were just two people from different worlds who had found love in the darkness. And that gave them the strength to face whatever came next. Agent Rick Cooper arrived at Haven Colony 3 days later. He was a thin man with tired eyes who worked for Earth's internal affairs. His job was to find corrupt officials in the government. "I have been hunting Marcus Bell for 2 years," he told Jake and Zara in a secure meeting room. "But he always covers his tracks well. Your testimony could finally give us what we need to arrest him." Jake looked at the evidence files Cooper had brought. Pictures of alien prisoners, financial records showing illegal payments, communication logs between Bell and known criminals. "This is enough to convict him," Jake said. "Maybe, but Bell has friends in high places. We need your testimony to be perfect. Any mistake, and his lawyers will tear it apart." Cooper explained how the trial would work. It would be held on Earth at the High Colonial Court. Security would be heavy, but Bell's people might still try to stop them from testifying. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Cooper asked Zara. "Bell will try to make you look like a liar. He will say terrible things about you and your people." Zara's eyes glowed with determination. "Let him try. The truth is stronger than his lies." They spent a week preparing for the trial. Cooper helped them organize their testimony and practice answering difficult questions. Karen provided them with a legal advisor who understood alien rights law. Nina arrived from Shadowport with more evidence. She brought video recordings of the slave auctions and financial records she had stolen from Vincent Cole's computer. Cole is already in jail, she told them. The authorities raided Shadowport right after you escaped. But Belle is still free, and still dangerous. The night before they left for Earth, Jake and Zara walked through the colony's gardens. The plants here came from many different worlds. Human roses grew next to Lyrian, singing flowers and Centauri crystal trees. Are you nervous? Jake asked. Yes, but also excited. For the first time since my capture, I feel like I can fight back. Jake stopped walking and turned to face her. Zara, there is something I need to tell you. What? Jake took a deep breath. I love you. I know we come from different worlds and different species, but what I feel for you is real. Zara smiled and touched his face gently. I love you too, Jake Morrison. Your thoughts and your heart are beautiful. What happens after the trial? Will you stay with me? If you want me to? I want you to. Forever if possible. Zara laughed. Forever is a very long time for my people. Are you sure you want to spend 300 years with me? I cannot think of anything I want more. They held each other under the alien stars, knowing that tomorrow they would face their greatest challenge yet. The trip to Earth took 5 days. Cooper's ship was fast and well-armed, but they still had to be careful. Belle's people were looking for them. Earth looked beautiful from space. Blue oceans and white clouds, just like in the pictures Zara had seen. But she knew that somewhere, on this beautiful world, corrupt men were planning to destroy them. The High Colonial Court was a massive building in Geneva. Security guards met them at the landing pad and escorted them inside. The courtroom was huge, with seats for hundreds of people. Judge Patricia Stone was a small woman with sharp eyes. She had a reputation for being fair but tough. Belle's lawyers looked expensive and confident. Jake hoped they were not as good as they looked. Marcus Bell sat at the defendant's table in an expensive suit. He was a handsome man with gray hair and cold eyes. When he looked at Zara, Jake saw hatred in his face. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Belle's lawyers tried everything they could think of. They said Jake was a criminal who could not be trusted. They claimed Zara was lying because she hated humans. They even tried to say that aliens did not have the same rights as humans. But Cooper was ready for all of this. He showed the financial records proving Belle had taken money from the slavers. He played recordings of Belle talking to Vincent Cole about alien merchandise. He brought in other witnesses who had seen Belle at slave auctions. When it was time for Jake to testify, he told the truth about everything he had seen on Shadowport. The judges and jury listened carefully as he described the cages full of prisoners and the auction where people were sold like animals. Why did you risk your life to save the defendant? Belle's lawyer asked him. Because she is a person, not property. Because what was happening there was wrong, but she is not human. Why should you care what happens to aliens? Jake looked at Zara sitting in the witness section. Because caring about others is what makes us human. If we stop caring about anyone who is different from us, we stop being worthy of the name human. When Zara testified, the courtroom was completely silent. She spoke in her accented English about her capture and imprisonment. She described the drugs they gave her and the way the buyers looked at her like she was a thing. The defendant, Marcus Bell, came to the auction house 3 times while I was there, she said. He bought 7 members of my species. I do not know what happened to them. Belle's lawyer tried to attack her testimony. How do we know you are telling the truth? Your people are telepaths. Maybe you are putting false memories in our minds. Judge Stone spoke before Zara could answer. That question is out of order. The witness has already proven her telepathic abilities do not work that way. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial records, communication logs, witness testimony, video recordings. Everything pointed to Belle being guilty, but the most powerful moment came when Dr. Lisa Chen testified about the aliens she had treated. She brought medical records showing the damage done by the drugs and the poor conditions. These beings suffered terrible abuse, she told the court. Some of them will never fully recover from what was done to them. After 3 weeks of testimony, the jury deliberated for only 2 hours. When they returned, the foreman stood up. "You find the defendant Marcus Bell guilty on all charges." The courtroom erupted in cheers. Jake grabbed Zara's hand and squeezed it tight. At one, Judge Stone sentenced Bell to life in prison without parole. Vincent Cole and 12 other traffickers also received long prison sentences. The trafficking network was broken, but the most important result was the new law that came after the trial. The Sentient Being Protection Act made it illegal to enslave, buy, or sell any intelligent alien species. It also created a new agency to protect alien refugees and investigate trafficking crimes. Agent Cooper offered Jake a job leading the new protection agency. "You proved you care about this cause," Cooper said. "We need someone like you in charge." Jake accepted. For the first time in his life, he had a job that felt meaningful. Zara was offered a position creating cultural exchange programs between humans and aliens. She would help both species understand each other better. "It is perfect work for me," she told Jake. "I can use my abilities to help people communicate across the barriers of language and culture." 6 months after the trial, Jake and Zara were married in a ceremony that honored both their traditions. Elder Thane performed the Lyrian bonding ritual while Judge Stone handled the human legal requirements. The wedding was held in the gardens of Haven Colony. Humans and aliens from across the galaxy came to celebrate with them. Nina was there, along with Ben Torres and Dr. Chen. Even Leo showed up. Clean and healthy after finally getting away from the criminal life. During the ceremony, Zara shared her thoughts with Jake through their mental connection. He felt her love surrounding him like warm light. She felt his devotion and his promise to protect her always. "You saved me," she whispered to him as they danced under the stars. "We saved each other," Jake replied as the celebration continued. Around them, Jake thought about how much his life had changed. A year ago, he had been a lonely mercenary with no purpose beyond his next paycheck. Now he was married to the woman he loved and working to make the galaxy a better place. The fight against trafficking was not over. There were still criminals out there who preyed on the weak. But now, there were also people like him and Zara fighting back. And sometimes, Jake thought, as he held his wife close, that was enough to change the universe.